Because I didn't grow up in a religious household, my perceptions of Islam were pretty negative. And I also was a bit cynical about religion in general. But Islam especially terrified me because I felt that it was very misogynistic, that it subordinated women to men. The woman hijab terrified me because I really felt that this woman was taking me back hundreds of years in my rights because I didn't understand it. So my perceptions of Islam were actually not too distant from the way that many Americans view Islam today. 1 out of 2 Americans today has an unfavorable view of the religion. Over 80% believe that Islam subordinates women, that it's misogynistic. 66% of Americans admit to having prejudice towards Muslim. 1 out of 2 believes that Islam is intolerant of other religions, and so those were all the perceptions that I had about the religion as well. I'm quite understanding. I'm very sympathetic because I had those views, and I was born into the religion. I come from the Middle East, from that part of the world where the majority is Muslim. And so if I had those misperceptions about the religion, I don't expect anyone else who isn't of that faith to have any better views. When I read the Quran for the first time in my life, this was about 20 years ago, it was a shock for me to learn what I did. What I loved about the Quran was that it was very inclusive of other religions, which was really important to me because I had and I continue to have friends of other faiths. And so I set out to actually learn about the Muslim community. And I spent the first year doing nothing but learning about the Muslim community, getting involved in every possible organization that I could be involved in, until I realized that this is really the work that needs to be done because it was very much lacking. We need to teach about Islam and Muslims, and we need to reach out to our neighbors, and Muslims need to be the ones doing that. So if we want to eliminate discrimination and prejudice towards Muslims, you need to work on those perceptions that people have about this religion, which is why education is really important and why doing work like interfaith outreach and just engaging with your neighbors is really essential and is really important, and that's essentially what ING does. Post-September 11th, I think a lot of people actually became very interested in learning a little bit more about Islam, and I think many Americans felt pretty anxious about maybe their neighbors, and so they went out and bought copies of the Quran. And so this is about this, typical size of a Quran. Now this happens to be both in English, the Arabic and the English translation. It's about 6,000 verses, and Muslims believe that it is the Word of God that was revealed by God to the Prophet Muhammad through the medium of the angel Gabriel. We've been around since 1993 when this work didn't exist at all. I mean, really, we were the only ones doing this work. And we met a lot of Muslims around the country that felt that this work was really important and necessary. They had come to realize that, education really is what we need to be investing time in, and interfaith engagement and so forth. And so we had a lot of interest from throughout the country to come into the local mosques and regional centers, and this is why we stress the importance of training and certifying speakers, because they really need to know what they're talking about. They need to be Islamically literate.
And unfortunately, a lot of the practices that claim to be Islamic are based on culture. Culture often disguises itself as religion, and it's often very difficult to change that because culture is passed down from generation to generation. It's not textually based.
Arabic is the sacred language for the religion of Islam, just like Latin is the sacred language for Christianity, and Hebrew is the sacred language for Judaism. Arabic is the sacred language for the religion of Islam.
There's a misconception that Muslims are Arabs are Muslim, when in fact, majority of Muslims are non-Arabs. Only about 18 to 20% are Arabs.
Are all Muslims born in Toronto, Ontario, like me?
No.
Are all Muslims born in Saudi Arabia?
No.
Are all Muslims born in Indonesia?
No.
So Muslims can be born everywhere, and they can look like each and every one of us.
If you do a good job in those 45 minutes to an hour and a half to 4 hours, you will forever change the way a person views Islam and Muslims. Forever, forever.